it's needed to have and to have conversations with people that actually participate or has experience in other metaverses. So that's why we decided to start this meeting. So with that said, I'm going to pass it to Lorelai that's going to lead this specific meeting.
Hi, folks. Do you hear me?
Loud and clear. Perfect.
Okay. I just want to conduct a short community meetups, sentiment meetups. Yes, we discussed with friends to understand what community thinks, what Decentraland lacks. Yeah, what competitors have that Decentraland does not have. For example, I also reviewed one more time a video with Dan. Yeah, who described DCL, and what I personally experience now, what issues I have in DCL is bad performance, crashes, long load times, poor, in my opinion, poor UI UX. And as a community member, say that we have a lack of interoperability. Yeah, like what Morph has said about WebXR or these avatars. And I also talked to 1010, and he mentioned that so we have an absence of grinding mechanism. Yes, something like a way users can when they start playing DCL. So where should they go? From what they can start? Maybe if they will have some kind of quests and missions and challenges as that we had in 2022, if I'm not mistaken, on Happy New Year, when there is were experience so that users could find Santa Claus on the cell map and take some kind of reward for that. So I just told what I feel, what I see community lacks. So I want to discuss with the most active players, Inworld players. So what we lack at first, so that we can define by priority. So it's like performance, bad graphics, or lack of grinding mechanism. What do you think? For example, Jared, what's your opinion on this? If you can speak.
On what is my opinion on the need for grinding mechanisms, or what is my opinion on the best way to implement some different questing things?
What is your opinion? What by priority? What DCL lacks? So we lack a good performance. We lack a grinding mechanism, or we lack, for example, mobile version to attract more younger audience.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the biggest hurdle in DCL's way right now in competing with all the massive adoption is just the the usability and how hot your how many gigabytes of RAM I need to be in world and stream a video without it crapping on me while I just have the audacity to chat in Discord. I think that if if a user with 16 gigabytes of RAM could use Decentraland without fear of it freezing on them while they're trying to hang with their friends and do one other thing on their computer, that would probably really help onboard people.
And what about mobile version? Because I don't have.
Yeah. I mean, to me, we're so we're running at 1,000. The computer can barely handle it. So the idea of a mobile version seems kind of silly to even suggest as a first step. But yeah, obviously mass adoption for on the truly huge scale we all dream of isn't possible until Decentraland can run on an iPhone 7 or or whatever the equivalent of an iPhone 7 is in 3 years from now or whatever. The shittiest phone in the Philippines.
I just wanted to chime in there. I don't think it's last room, by the way. Anybody? I don't think mobile should be in the scope at all. No one is asking for Call of Duty to be on mobile. No one is asking for Fortnite. I know they have been, but they've had years in the making. No one's asking for mobile. So I think we need to not focus on mobile and let's make it work properly on computers. I think we're too distracted from all of these other ideas and systems and things that just don't make sense. So I really think we need to focus on the computer. What?
I would agree, like focusing on makes sense. Like like especially since like making an effective mobile version would just be like starting from the ground up. I kind of agree that probably should be a like back burner, nice to have somewhere distant in the future.
No, it's zero. It's never.
I mean,
No. Hold on, Jared.
There's value to it, but it's not like a thing that
there's
we
zero value, Jared. There's zero value.
That's not
Is-
that. I mean, you can't
hold
just
on,
say that like
Jared.
fact.
Is Pokemon Go on a computer?
I know, but I mean, you
Okay. So there's no value in having Pokemon AR on the computer. So right now, there's zero value for Decentraland to be on a mobile.
I mean, you're taking a really strong stance against a position I don't have, so that's cool. And I don't care to argue about the merits of mobile, but I don't think you did a good job.
I mean, I would love to chime in here because this is something that other metaverses have faced as well, right? And it's not actually to do with mobile. It's to do with the fact that it's another platform and it's another code base and it's another interface and it's another concern that we have to worry about, right? Like it's literally just another repo that we would have to run and maintain and keep up to date with all the latest changes that are going on, both on Decentraland and on the platform itself. Again, this is why I raised the issue of WebXR and WebGPU, because we are going to have more platforms, right? Right now we have browser, we have desktop for both Mac and Windows, and we have to maintain all three of those clients. We have a Babylon client coming that we're maintaining. This is not sustainable, and it's not something that we can do forever. And if we want VR, there's no way that we can build 6 different VR clients for like the Apple VR store, the Meta VR store, the Google VR store. Like it's just not possible, right? So when we talk about this stuff, we should really be talking about the back-end technology and like what we actually plan to use. And I think that like the browser is the most interoperable technology that can work anywhere. And we already have a browser client, and we should be really focusing on like how can we improve that and give it the same performance as the desktop client. And you know, this is not something that we could have talked about last year, but it's something that we can talk about now because we have WebGPU specs. It's in alpha. It's getting close to being usable. We have WebXR. You can see Hyperfi you can load in. Like, let's talk about competitors. Let's talk about the massive amounts of DCL users that are going over to Hyperfi and building there instead because it has VR, it has like better browser performance, and it's just a easier to jump in metaverse that you can use on mobile. Even if no one wants to use it on mobile, you can, and that's an easy way to jump in, right? So I get that like we can talk about platforms or use cases, but at the end of the day, we should be really focusing on like what kind of like strategic decisions can we make that set us up to be like the most interoperable and the most composable and the most usable metaverse for everyone, not just at the front end, but at the back end too, right? Like that's when we talk about the metaverse, it's not just like you're jumping into a game. I mean, this is a network and a platform that we need to make sure like works for everyone. And so I was kind of hoping when I came to this conversation, I was kind of hoping that like we would be talking about competitive analysis with, other metaverses. I see Sandbox in here. I see, I guess, Decentral Games too, but I really don't understand why we'd be talking about, our DAO versus Optimism versus ENS versus Arbitrum, Uniswap, MakerDAO, Bankless, Aave, BitDAO, Gnosis. It's just not the same concept, and it's not the same like problems that we have to solve, right?
Sorry, can I jump I wanted to give pass it to Toby if you want. Yeah,
I appreciate that. Just to go into something very, very small that maybe you can make a big difference, and it's not like getting the mobile version and everything. Could be actually integrating services like Web3 Auth. For example, one of the main problems that I see on the Decentraland is that, for some people, getting a MetaMask, setting it up, I mean, that's just a pain. People prefer to, I won't do it. But instead, if you use services like Web3 Auth, what you can do is that on the backend, Web3 Auth generates a wallet, but it lets the user sign with Google, any social media provider. Because I feel like, many people actually, MetaMask is just a pain. So it would be, I think, a small change that maybe can work. And on GitHub, you can actually add new different providers. Maybe the DAO could, I don't know if I'm saying correctly, if someone wants to correct me, please do it. But maybe the DAO could fund a developer to integrate Web3 Auth, so we can start having logins with Google and the other providers. I think that's one small thing that we can do, and we can improve a lot the people who come here.
By login, really quick, sorry. Do you mean like, because the only benefits of logging in are like having an inventory, having like connected names. So what are you thinking is it just like a permanent ID for things like Wondermine? Or are you hoping that there's going to be like back-end systems to handle people's items?
Wallets, man. Why can't we have custodial wallets?
So you see that in some, even in some Web3 platforms, like even in the Sandbox, for example. You can log in with Google and they create on the backend a wallet for you. So with that way, they don't have to be, oh, you got it. Oh, sorry, I was reading the chat. You don't have to be creating a MetaMask each time as you want a user to come here. Or not each time, but when a user wants to come here, you don't have to be creating a MetaMask. They can log in with Google and other providers.
Right, but what are they getting for that login is what I'm asking, because there's no inventory, right?
There is.
Because there's nowhere to send a wallet, right? There's no wallet address that we can control.
Then you can export the keys
for the arcade. Like
right, but
when their users generate, a digital collectible, like a custodial wallet that Decentraland holds on.
Right. Okay. Yeah. That's what I'm asking. So what we're suggesting is Web3 login, but we'd also need to build a backend system that manages wallets and for everyone.
You don't have to, because there's already a service called Web3 DAO, which is like used by most platforms in the industry, including I think I don't know if the Sandbox uses it, but I'm sure their DCL curation sent it.
So wait, do they generate the wallets and they hold on to all that data and everything?
Yeah, because this is non-custodial, so I don't.
But how do
you get a wallet out of that? Is what I'm confused.
It creates it on the backend. I'm not sure, but just maybe someone has used it.
Someone at DG, because they literally just set up all this tech and they have exactly that. They just put that on for the arcade.
Oh yeah, that would be great. I mean, if it gives you a wallet, that sounds awesome. If you can log in with Google, yeah.
They are generating a wallet for you, and then they're also but when you as the user are ready to move on and take ownership of it, we're here to help give you the keys to the car, so to speak. So it's I think it is a good middle ground for getting people from Web 2 into Web 3, because I agree with Topik that if the first step to using your product is go get a MetaMask, from this other place, that's a huge barrier of resistance to get a truly new person to step in.
Is that the kind of the core audience that we're going after is Web 2 folk? Because I mean, I'm mostly on the back end, so when I look at Decentraland, I just see Web 3 stuff. I see Web 3 tools and I see Web 3 use cases.
I mean,
do we want Web 2 people, or do we want to onboard people? I guess it onboards people to Web 3 too, right? Yeah, sorry, I'm just talking out loud. Don't mind me.
I think
inevitably long term we want to be onboarding Web 2 people. So and I think it'll absolutely make it easier for other people who with engineering capabilities or 3D modeling skills who would be builders and not just users to also come into the space for sure.
I don't think we're going to adequately get Web 2 users if we don't focus on platform stability first. Because one of the things that draws me specifically to these other platforms is being able to jump in and not crash and not have to worry about limitations, not have to worry about if I'm loading something. So we're in a chicken before the egg kind of situation that we kind of need to address first.
Have limitations. That's the only one I've spent enough time on to notice. But you can't have more than 50 people at a party there. So there are limitations. Don't get me wrong. It does, and it did crash on me a couple of times and the music cut out. So it is it feels amazing because it does look good. It is awesome, but at the same time, it does have similar problems DCL has once they,
yes and no, because at the same time, as a solo player, if I want to go have a solo experience, I'm going to fight crashing on Decentraland, whether there's 50 people there or just me. It's a platform stability issue rather than a scalability. Hyperfi just doesn't have that scalability yet because they're still relatively new. If they were in the same tenure as Decentraland, they probably wouldn't have that issue, or the same funding as Decentraland has, they wouldn't have that issue.
They're also instance,
landowners.
Right?
Also, landowners in Hyperfi, they can control the instances. So you can set it to only have 1 or 2 users in one instance and have infinite instances. So only 2 people can join at once. Or you can set it to have 200 users in one instance. You can control that to sort of balance lag, based on your needs.
Sorry to interrupt. Let's take this opportunity of everyone discussing about Hyperfi to shift the discussions about the metaverses that we want to compare or / collaborate with Decentraland. So far we mentioned Hyperfi and what other one? well, can't remember, and Sandbox, sorry. So the people that actually build or experience those metaverses, please be our guest to compare them with Decentraland, with their benefits, with their lags, with everything. As Nikki just started these discussions, so we can actually conduct this analysis. So I wanted just to intervene to say that, to keep discussions ongoing about the comparative analysis. But yeah, maybe talking about Hyperfi and Sandbox are a good start. So just please go on with whatever you were saying.
In my opinion, Hyperfi is the blueprint on onboarding anyone. It's super easy. There is no moment in the beginning where you have to create an avatar. That doesn't stop users from playing, because most people, when you join a metaverse, you want to just explore right away. And so, like, I think the creation of an avatar as like a first step deters people. And on Hyperfi, you're given a default avatar and you just immediately play. There's no wallet sign in. There's no Google sign in. I've been able to text normies the link to Hyperfi. They open it on their phone because they're too lazy to go to their computers, and they're able to play right away. And they have no idea that they're dealing with Web3 or Metaverse. I think that's the way to do it as far as onboarding is concerned.
Yeah, I think, just to chime in, and I've said this before, we don't know what Decentraland is, so it's hard to compare it to other metaverses, because with the introduction to worlds, Decentraland as a product is undefined. There have been 3 different chief product officers in the last year. And so if we can't define what Decentraland is, it's hard to compare it to other metaverses. And I bring that up because with the introduction to worlds, nobody asked for that, but that competes with the containerized solutions of Hyperfi and Sandbox. Decentraland as Genesis City doesn't compete with anybody else because it's truly an open metaverse. So I think what we have to understand is, what are we trying to push forward? Are we trying to push forward the open metaverse concept of Genesis City? Or are we trying to push forward the worlds concept and bring the island servers and spinning off new island servers of a world server to compete with Sandbox and Hyperfi?
Honestly, I look at Sandbox, I don't even see a competitor. I don't even see a metaverse. I see a like front end game with a bunch of centralized companies where they've made models and they don't have an SDK. They don't have any external connections. There's no real way to like use it as a platform in the back end. It's mostly just like a front end game, right? But Decentraland is a full metaverse. I mean, we have full SDKs. We have a complete back end that you can like connect to and run completely like separate businesses off. I mean, I've even had people at M3 talk about interoperability as like taking a Decentraland world or like piece of the overworld and just like slamming it into a Hyperfi world for like better stability. We talked about doing this for like DG, right? Like maybe we could just take one of the DG casinos and just like place it in Hyperfi, and we'd have a VR metaverse out of the box right like that. And I don't think these have to be competitors, right? Like I think I've talked to both the Hyperfi team and Hyperfi users about like how these metaverses can work together, and a lot of them are keen. I mean, Hyperfi doesn't have a massive treasury fund like we do, but they have some of the best WebXR devs in the market. If we work with them, I mean, they can help us leverage that technology to get VR into Decentraland like ASAP and in browser. Is it going to be stable? Do we need web GPU to like really realize that? Probably. But I mean, these are the kind of product decisions that we're already see the community make, right? Like people are already taking the Decentraland avatar into Hyperfi. So we can lean into that, or we can say like, oh, you know, like we need to block this because like people are leaving Decentraland. We need to like stop people downloading their models. Why? I mean, we're an open metaverse with open source code, with open source models. We're supposed to be able to take the things we buy. Like I made my streaming avatar. Does anyone have a problem that like I use the IP to like stream as my avatar from Decentraland? No, it's marketing. It's every time people come into my stream, they're like, what the hell are you doing? I'm like, oh, this is an avatar from Decentraland. It's full of like L1 wearables, L2 wearables. Like that's to me is like what the metaverse is. It's that underlying platform that kind of lets you connect these things. And it doesn't just let some centralized entity connect it. It doesn't just let the foundation connect it. Anyone can like wake up tomorrow, decide they want to build something that makes a better metaverse, and they can just go and do it using the tools that we've provided, right? So when I think of like the metaverse, that's what I think of. It's the back end, it's the tools, it's the connectivity. How can we lean into that and like build more tools, build more connectivity, or bring in external teams to connect to their tools or to connect to ours and make like better connections? I think that's where like the competition, that's where I want to see this kind of conversation go, is like, it doesn't have to be competition if they all work together and if they all benefit each other.
Well, that sounds like Decentraland becomes a protocol then, instead of an actual destination, right? And I think,
that's what.
Yeah, no, we talked about this too. Like, then what is the advent of like Genesis City and Worlds, right? I get they can exist, but where do we focus the development, right? Is it building out that feature, or is it building out the interoperability features that makes Decentraland a protocol and not necessarily a destination?
I think the thing is that we can't decide that, right? Like the only thing we can really do is build the actual like SDK, and the tools that we have is what we can really control. If we try to force like user generated content, or we try to force the overworld to be used for a certain thing, it's just going to become pigeonholed as that. But if we build tools that you can do anything, and we make it stable, and we make it work on the browser with VR, and we provide all these things, the community will decide. The community will go and run like massive events and do all these things for us. But if we don't have that, we can't.
No, you're so right. But what's really sad is there's one person on this call that is from the foundation, and it's Peanut Butter. And no offense to Peanut Butter, but he doesn't program. He's not working on the platform. He's not working on anything. So when we talk and when we say we can't do anything, we can't do anything as a community. There's not one person on this call from the foundation. And that just shows the disconnect, like the entire disconnect between what they are working on, the foundation, and what the community feels and sees and wants and thinks. And so it's a great example. This call is a great example of what's going on behind the scenes with worlds getting created, or another client, or who knows what the hell else they're doing. And we're over here talking to each other. So we're sort of in an echo chamber with ourselves, and the foundation is just running off on their own. We have no idea what they're doing.
I totally get that we don't have visibility into what they do, and that's a problem. But we have the technical AMAs and stuff, so we have like a little bit of back and forth there. But what I would really encourage you guys to kind of think about, and maybe I'm wrong here, but I mean, I posted that VRM proposal like a year ago after a year of research and looking into it. Like, I didn't want to propose something that was dumb and didn't work, but I brought that proposal because I genuinely think it's technology that will change the platform for the better, and I think that the foundation would be silly not to implement it. And I think Nikki pointed out that there's a lot of conversations happening behind the scenes with that, with IP regulation and things, but they're definitely talking about it, and they're definitely looking to implement it because the community had like 5 million positive VB votes and no votes, right? Like, I don't even know if they were looking into that tech beforehand. I feel like we as the community really raised that to their attention and showed them that was possible by exporting our avatars ourselves and making them VRM. Like, if we didn't do that, I'm not sure we would be there today, right?
Sorry to interrupt again. I think Toby wanted to say something before this conversation.
Yeah, it's very interesting conversation. I think going back to things that I would like to be added and maybe can be worked on, but probably when the new clients are ready. And I think things that I will have been lacking of is screen sharing. Like, most of these other platforms have screen sharing. They can do it so easy. Like, they press pew, and it appears like a picture or like a video where they can see their screen. They can also embed YouTube videos, for example. They just put pew, and it embeds a YouTube video, and people can watch it there. They usually can moderate their different rooms. In this case, it would be like a land. So they can ban people, kick people. In fact, on the one that called On Cyber has this feature where you can choose that in order for people to contribute to talk, they need to press a button. So they press pew, and like the one who wants to talk has to press that button. And that's another way of like managing the communications. On Cyber also has something very interesting too. You can embed websites. I've been seeing people embedding websites literally on 3D. That's pretty cool, because many things that are made on a website there just can be on the 3D place. So yeah, I would say like managing like better tools to manage the conversations, like moderation tools, and being able to embed and screen sharing. Those are things that I think like would make the Decentraland events way better. And most of these platforms already have it. I don't think the Sandbox has it, but the Sandbox is not released. But many of the others do.
Yeah,
Toby
those
makes
are
a really
really
good point.
interesting. Yeah, really good points. And that's like the meaning of this meeting, right? comparing technologies and the background and everything about the different, again, competitors slash collaborators. So I think what Morph and Tobik and Lastrom and Jared are like pointing out are the things that we should consider. So just to keep going the conversations, wanted to keep that thoughts, but I think right now we're in a good path to keep discussing this.
I wanted
Tobik
to.
makes an excellent point. Oh, sorry, Ralston, you go.
I just wanted to add to Tobik's. He brought up OnCyber, and one of the things that I think a lot of people may not realize is that OnCyber, Hyperfi, Monoverse, Substrata, CryptoVoxels, they're all connected. Like they're all in a conversation together, building the future of the metaverse. And Decentraland and Sandbox are not part of that conversation, but they are including Decentraland and Sandbox in their conversations. It would be great if Decentraland participated in those dialogues. So like things, the features that Tobik mentions are available in most of those platforms, and they're not available in Decentraland. And if Decentraland was part of that conversation, or even part of the conversation with us, like Lastrom said, that would be huge.
Well, I definitely agree with the overall point that like for like mass adoption, as people like to think about, and like things like better tools for the builders who don't know how to code or like 3D model themselves, like until there is like a drag and drop, build your own Sims house kind of way to like, populate a parcel, I think it's going to be really hard for, non-technical people to really get super excited about what can be done here.
Yeah, and that's just another thing that exists on other platforms that doesn't exist in Decentraland, and it's like it drives me nuts because they keep talking about SDK7 and coding, and for me it's like coding, like nobody's going to want to learn to code. I learned to code a little bit, and I'm like over it. I don't want to touch it. On Hyperfi, I built all these amazing things without any coding. Ash from Hyperfi, the founder of Hyperfi, created apps so that users can do it without coding, and I've been able to do that. And they have an SDK, and I refuse to touch it. I just don't want to code anymore.
Told me in the past that they were gonna update the builder once SDK7 came out, but then I told someone that I'd heard that yesterday, and they said, no, I heard the builder's just abandoned forever no matter what. Does anyone here know the answer to that? Because
they have said in previous AMAs that they plan to deprecate the builder eventually, so no. It won't. I think the smart items within it will be converted to SDK7 friendly, but I don't think the builder itself will be SDK7.
Yeah, it's going to be all part of Visual Studio Code. And I think Nico's shown some of that. So Nikki's right when they say that the builder as we know it, the website is going to be gone, but the way you drag and drop and move things. And I think AJ and some people from the ABC or CBD Discord have seen that solution. So it's semi-promising, but it has to all be converted to SDK7.
I think another problem of the builder, in my opinion, is that the way it works is that you put different objects, but don't necessarily everything match. And when it comes to other platforms, for example, something really interesting that the Sandbox is doing, they use the system of the Sims, that you build like walls, like dragging, like you click and it makes a wall. And then you put a door, for example, and the door like matches the wall. It's not like in the Decentraland builder where you need to put a wall, you need to put the door, but the door never fits because it's even like rounded. The people who have used the builder know what I'm talking. Like try to put a door into a wall, it's impossible. Like something so basic like putting a door, it's a nightmare. And you will have to.
Roller Coaster Tycoon has a better builder. Tobik is correct.
Yeah, it's a pain because it never fits. So what we would also need, I think, is like a modular builder. The Sandbox has a good example. I mean, of course, it's not the same because the Sandbox is voxels and Decentraland it's not. But at least a system where different objects can fit the different structures. And then another thing that I feel that the Sandbox has, and it's amazing, like this is really well executed, is the way the builder works in terms of interactions. So we will need more like, if someone touches this happens, right? In the Decentraland builder, we have some boxes, I think, that allow you to do that, but it's not very complex. Like I would like to see like, a whole set for example, of behaviors. Like you can add a behavior to something, for example, to a character, and it acts like an enemy, or add a system of lives. All of that from the builder. So of course you wouldn't be able to make super complicated experiences like games like Your Own Way, Goldcraft, or whatever. But at least like those experiences can have some type of interaction, and they are not so like simple. So
Tobik, what about this? You have a great idea. And I just posted in the chat, the text chat. Does anybody remember the Inworld Builder? Can anybody remember that? That failed.
Deprecated.
Yeah. Brutal, right? Brutal. But Tobik, to your point, kind of on the right path, right? Like we have this, I think, onboarding world server, right? Created by community members or somebody that sort of, I think it was Dapcraft or Polygon Mind that introduces the user to Decentraland. But, what if step one was part of that world server experience was dragging and dropping items, and then taking that to the next level is the actual in-world builder being a part of Decentraland, exactly what you're talking about. Like revive, like making that legit,
like one quest would be like build this small basic item real quick,
correct, yeah,
and that would unknowingly teach them how to build a build once they get into the gameplay. I think that's a great idea. And for anyone that hasn't explored it yet, if you jump into Decentraland incognito mode and join, you'll basically essentially join as a first-time user. Decentraland has, over the past like 5 or 6 months, really improved the onboarding experience, and they have like a whole new quest that you can get an emote and wearables and stuff just by participating. And I think it's actually really good. I still wish they would drop like the sign up to the newsletter thing and the create the avatar thing, like put that later. But and I also do think loading speeds and everything has been significantly improved. So I don't know who the new peeps are in the foundation that are doing these things, but somebody's doing a good job, I think, personally.
I think Morph wanted to share something.
Cool. Yeah, just really quickly as we discuss these things. I mean, I think it's evident that all these metaverses offer something, right? Like they all have something they're the best at, but by themselves, maybe it's not a complete metaverse experience. So if we could take all the best pieces of all these metaverses and put them together, we have the metaverse. We have the complete metaverse that we're like waiting to build, right? But we just aren't there yet. A big question of that is like, if we're going to sync with these other metaverses, we want to take stuff from them, right? Like we want the VR devs from Hyperfi and Metaverse to like help us get VR. We want them to like tell us things and share things and information and knowledge, or even like libraries and SDKs. What do we offer them? What does Decentraland have? What is our niche, right? Personally, I mean, I'm super biased, but I think the Avatar is like the biggest niche we have. I mean, none of these other metaverses really have like a great open marketplace for composable avatars. You look at Hyperfi, which is one of my favorites, but there's no avatar experience. You need to go and get a VRM. You load in as like a generic robot. There is like connected systems for VRM. So, you can connect other platforms to download the VRM, but they don't have like a marketplace for wearables. They don't have like, you can't buy a pair of glasses and like put them on your avatar. The DCL system is really complex. Like our whole avatar building system is really well fleshed out. We're adding more with like the hands and like all these like great creators we have in the community that we already have. Like our wearables marketplace is the best. It's the biggest. It's way better than like even VR chats or like Fiverr or like any of these other like bullshit systems that build avatars. It's the best. So like I think we should be pushing that hard. It's like, how can we get other metaverses to adopt our avatar system? How can we just like give them a way to import the avatars like natively, even if it's not like a direct VRM export that people can go and like take to other places, at least give them an endpoint where they can like jump in as their DCL avatar. And then we have the metaverse. Then we have like your character can go anywhere. So I'll leave it there. I think Metaruke was jumping. Or
I think I've been saying for months now that like with the skins in Decentraland, you can easily just, when you create a new skin, add a section where you can include a VRM URL, so you can immediately just like pop your VRM as a skin into Decentraland, ready to go. I mean, the armatures are so close that I think it's easily doable. Also, the other advantage is just open metaverse, and I like back to what Lastrom was saying. Should it be a pocketverse or a metaverse that we should be focusing on? I think for sure open metaverse, but I think Decentraland has a huge opportunity to get driving and flying involved. I mean, you can fly in crypto voxels. I think crypto voxels is probably the closest thing to Decentraland, even though it's like slowly dying. But you can fly around crypto voxels, and that is like so much fun. It's insane, and you can't do that in Hyperfi. You can't fly from world to world. You can't do that in Spatial or on Cyber or any of the other ones. You can only do that in crypto voxels. And so I think if Decentraland really focuses on open metaverse and like Morph said with the wearables and avatar system, that's going to be pretty prominent.
Thanks,
Okay,
Roshan. Yeah, I'm going to pass it to MetaRyuk and then to Lorlike.
Thank
Go
you
ahead.
so much. Thanks, man. So regarding the avatar kind that you guys mentioned, whether we want to like share this out to the rest of the metaverse platforms. So I've been to quite a number of like expos or experience to quite a number of platforms out there. The recent one called Pavia and then Kronos versus Kronos. So one of the things that I found out is that they don't really care so much about avatar creation, especially when it comes to comparing their platform to Decentraland. Apparently, most of these places that I'm in, they tend to compare themselves with Decentraland, and they tend to say what Decentraland has and what they should not have, or they shouldn't be following the footsteps of Decentraland. And most of these platforms that I'm in, they generally would prefer a very simple drag and drop kind of avatar. So the Ready Player Me is a good example because you can actually do a lot more integration with Ready Player Me than Decentraland personalized avatar. Because if you can see, the Ready Player Me can do a lot more stuff. You know, you can integrate, you can use the same Ready Player Me avatar in Pavia across other metaverse platforms that accepted Ready Player Me as an avatar. So that's one of the things that I think we should also look into. Right? I'm not quite sure if we're pushing our avatar standards to them would be cause of a technical concern. But yeah, this is something that I've noticed based on a discussion in the Discord channels.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think Decentraland should not be a closed, like a gated network. You know, it should be ready to accept any interoperability. As you know, I personally don't like Ready Player Me, but I mean, there's no reason that they shouldn't be able to be in Decentraland. You know, if it's gonna like push interoperability forward.
Because in terms of graphics, right, I would say Decentraland is still lacking, and I think that's because of our decentralized nature of our infrastructure. If you look at others like Somnium Space or Monaverse, even Pavia, the recent one, or Kronosverse, they are all relying on centralized infrastructure. So I think the uniqueness that Decentraland is offering here is the close to pure decentralization, right? And the rest are all centralized. So I think that's where the trade-off here, the inability to support good graphics because of our decentralized nature. And at the same time, if you look at other platforms like Somnium Space, Pavia, Sandbox, the good thing about this Decentraland is that we accept browser, right? And the rest you have to download like a launcher. And these launcher are not small size; they are like 500 megabyte. Some are 10 gigabyte to download everything before they can actually play. So I think this is one of the plus sign of Decentraland. You can actually run it through the browser without downloading anything at all in the first place.
Decentraland also is capable.
Sorry to interrupt. I think Lorlike was going to say something, and I wanted to say we have like 15 more minutes. So if anyone that didn't talk yet wants to say something or comment or ask questions about anything, it's the right moment. And yeah, Rose, and you can talk after Lorlike. So I pass it to Lorlike.
Thanks, friends. I want to tell about my experience with Sandbox. So I think they have like not bad marketing, but from like a content creator player side. So I got at their website and I couldn't understand how to play Sandbox. And they said that all events are offline and you need to own like your own land to do the event and like publish it. I mean, so it was very tough to understand how to play Sandbox, and I didn't like exactly understood how to do it. Like I had experience with playing Sandbox, but like I didn't play some time ago, and I like decided now to reach and try it, and it was a real problem to do it. Also, I want to mention that, for example, I'm not a gamer, and if there would like be some more use cases that Decentraland could like offer, for example, maybe in the like topic of dating, yeah. So maybe we can like expand this dating experience, like partner with Tinder, so that the people can like feel the new way how the dating experience can be handled. Adding like additional mechanics, for example, if like two people meet in the virtual world, so they can like do some kind of engagement actions with each other, for example, yeah. So yeah, this is what I want to mention. Go on.
Rosen, you were about to share something and I interrupted you, so please go ahead.
I just wanted...
sorry. Then Metari wants to share something else.
I just wanted to add to what Metaryok was saying regarding the graphics. Decentraland is actually incredibly capable of like awesome graphics. I really think it's up to the creators that are building to apply that. You know, like the big advantage Decentraland has over Sandbox is you can bring voxels into Decentraland, but you can't bring Decentraland into Sandbox. Sandbox is always voxels. Decentraland, you can create whatever you can possibly imagine, and I'm sure many of us in this room have seen like the Third Eye Casino, which in my opinion is still the best overall graphic experience in Decentraland. It unfortunately doesn't exist anymore, and we've been trying to get MetaMike to put it in a world as just like to preserve it as history. But like it showed what Decentraland was capable of, and now we're seeing like KJ Walker. She set up water that rivals the water in Hyperfi, and it's amazing. And she had to talk to like the foundation to get some changes made so that it could exist in World. It would work in World. It would work in Worlds, but it wouldn't work in Genesis City. But now it works in Genesis City, and that's huge. And that's all because the creators decided to do that. So even though like Decentraland looks like PlayStation 1, it doesn't have to. That's all up to the creators. You can make something like photorealistic in Decentraland. It's totally possible.
Thanks, Rosen. So I'll pass it to Metaryuk and then to Nikki Fuego.
Okay, thanks. So just last bit for me, based on my research on all these metaverse platform that I've been experiencing, I noticed one key thing that, or one unique or significant thing that Decentraland has or possess that other platforms don't have is the monetization. And when I talk about monetization, is not about like trading or venting. No, it's about having the ability with this SDK coding to allow people to purchase Inworld, right? I see some of the awesome repository that you are able to like conduct a transaction by Inworld, and this is something that I feel most of the platforms that I experience don't have. Pavia, Konosverse, Sandbox. I'm not quite sure about Somnium Space because they do have some SDK, but I haven't explored that further. But other than that, like Metaverse Spatial, I'm not quite sure about Hyperfi as well. They don't have this monetization features or aspects, and I think this is something that Decentraland is unique because it allows people to conduct businesses or financial transactions to happen in Decentraland. So that's my bit. Thanks.
Thanks, and Nikki, I'll pass it to you.
I just wanted to reiterate that I think it's really important for the admins who are running this group to not require, because we can't make anybody do anything, but really, really try to enforce getting somebody from Foundation, especially in the development area, into these calls, because a lot of these conversations we have throughout the year, the last really year and a half that I've been here, and it's always a battle of infrastructure. It's never about a battle of will or can. It's always about where the Foundation's at right now. And I feel like we're constantly being forced to meet them where they're at, but they're never meeting us where we're at. The AMAs are only so good because if we were able to choose the topics, I think they'd be better, but we don't ever get to choose those topics. They're chosen for us. And so we have to talk about what they want to talk about. So I think it's important that they come to these meetings and hear what we're talking about, because The worst part is talking about all these ideas, getting really excited, and then never seeing any fruition from it and losing that apathy of wanting to actually have these conversations. Because I think there would be way more people to be involved in these conversations if they actually had faith that some of these things would change. I know for me, that's a lot of my issues with coming to these meetings is I never have an inclination that this is going to actually develop into anything because there's no representation here. So I think that's really important because, a lot of us are doing a lot of really important things, and I don't want to burn anybody out because this is a great platform and a great metaverse, and we could all come together, but it has to start at the top and come down. It can't come from the bottom up. We've tried to do that for the last year and haven't gotten anywhere. Specifically with the avatar system, we went through a huge debacle with that with the skins last year because there was no real development that was made for that category, for the potential that it could be, like scaling the avatar down, doing different body types and stuff like that. It all comes back down to the infrastructure that was made 4 years ago that wasn't made for what it is today. And so we just need insight and transparency on what they're doing to address that and what they're doing to fix that now and where they're at in that process. Because as manifestos and the blogs and stuff they put out are very surface level. None of it gives the granular details that we're all talking about here. So I wanted to preface that whoever's running these to try and really get some representation in these.
Yeah, well, regarding the access for the information, we created a couple of weeks ago the RFI procedure. I believe that's not enough to cover everything that we want to know about the development ongoing within the foundation, but I think starting to use that is a good way to have that back and forth that we are talking about, because I agree that the manifesto is just a huge statement about everything, but there's no deep dive, and there are not deep dives into the different questions that we have. So using the RFI and using the AMAs that we're also aiming to reformulate or restructure is a good way to address that. But I invite you all. I will take this opportunity based on what Nikki mentioned. I would like to invite you all to use the RFI procedure. Right now, I think we got only one questionnaire so far. So be my guest to start asking questions about technical specific things, about different strategies within the foundation, about everything can be covered there. So I wanted to mention that. Sorry. Yeah, go ahead, Rostan.
Oh, can
Does
I have
anyone
one?
record these?
Yeah.
Does anyone record these so we can send it?
Yeah, I'm recording it right now. I also wanted to say one quick thing. We just did put out a recent survey to change the format of the AMAs. So Nikki, you should definitely add all your comments in there. We're trying to make it better for the community, foundation, for all of us. So everyone here, I would love it if you filled out that survey. If you want to, I think the link is still in the announcements, or we can post it.
I'm going to post it here right now. And also I'm going to post the RFI procedure link for everyone that's not aware of that procedure, because again, no one's using it, and I think it's a really valuable tool for everyone to have access to information that we don't have access right now. Okay, thanks, Canwell, for sharing that. I'm going to share the RFI link soon, but in the meanwhile, with 5 minutes to go, 7 minutes to go. Yeah, sorry.
No, I just wanted to say sorry,
ahead.
Ruston, because I interrupted him. Maybe if he can continue what he was about to say.
All I wanted to ask was that was anybody recording this and able to send it to the foundation so they can listen to
do just that.
points on their time,
Yeah,
I think that would be good for them.
Yeah, we're recording this, and we're going to work on a summary of these conversations and putting everything together, not only in our existing mural boards with the comparative analysis, etc., but also putting a readable summary about this, because there were really great insights here. Not only about other platforms, but also marking some flaws that our platform has. And again, as I mentioned in the chat, I believe this is a huge opportunity for us to start taking more ownership on the platform. And now we also have a set of tools to do that. With the bidding and tendering procedure, I think the DAO can hire technical teams to improve the platform, to actually improve the platform. So let's take this opportunity, these discussions, and this analysis and this diagnosis can go in parallel, but let's start thinking about using the existing procedures for improving our platform. Let's not rely only on the foundation, because I believe they're doing a great job, but there are flaws on their job. They're not covering everything that we want to do with the platform or everything that we would like to have on the platform. So let's not only collaborate with them and creating a better synergy, but also take ownership on the platform. So yeah, again, 5 minutes to go, 5 minutes to end this meeting. So I invite everyone that didn't have the opportunity yet to comment or to share their thoughts. Well, be my guest again.
I would just like to chime in on that hiring technical teams. Something that's like been interesting for me is I'm not a game dev, right? So I'm out of my depth when it comes to a lot of this kind of Unity discussion and things. Sorry, but I am, investigating and like using my technical knowledge to figure out like what are the options, what are the solutions, and that's why I want to kind of propose like the WebXR thing. But what I've been thinking is that the bidding and tendering flow, we can drive that, right? Like we can, if we really want WebXR, like us being the people right here / the DAO in general, we can make that a tendering something that we could like go and find a team for. What I think is kind of disappointing is that, we did have a VR proposal after VR was taken off the roadmap, but it wasn't really a strategic proposal. It was just kind of like, hey, we have experience building, VR apps. We want to build a VR app for the Meta Quest, and the app works. Like, I'm not shitting on the fact they did the ground. They did exactly what they said they would, but it's not really like a strategic VR implementation that's going to help us get to where we need to be in regards to like all these other things. So I've been talking to like M3, which is the interoperability group. And that's where, a lot of like the Hyperfi founders hang out and have so for a couple of years. And I've just straight up asked them like, hey, I mean, if we can get support for like you guys to come like help us integrate WebXR, is that like something that we could do as like a proof of concept? And then once we have a concept, we can like maybe get a grant for like a couple $100K to like actually build like a competitive VR browser app for Decentraland. I'm not technical. I can't do that myself, but I can reach out to these people and just see if they're interested. What's the kind of grant cost that it would cost? Is the DAO like okay with that? And then we can kind of move these conversations forward ourselves. If we just wait for the right team to come with the right proposal, it's never going to happen. There's just too many like things that people don't know. We need like the entire DAO to like make those strategic decisions. So anyways, that's where I'll leave it. But I think that the more we have these conversations and figure out exactly what we want, the more that we can kind of like chase after it, as opposed to just hoping it comes to us.
Really, really great reflection, really good insights on that. And again, this is a strategic planning working group. So I think this is a place to have these discussions, and all the people that's participating here might not have the opportunity to participate in the last strategic planning sessions that we had. But there's a working group, there's a Discord channel for this breakdown into the different areas of interest that we are discussing right now. So please be part of that. Because right here we have a 1 hour meeting, and all the insights that we're gathering, all the facts that we're gathering right now are probably, I won't say more that we already done, but there are a lot of things that we didn't touch base on, and this is really great, really great. So thanks more for pointing that out. Okay, so 2 minutes to go, and well, I basically did the closure, but if anyone wants to jump in and ask another question or comment something, it's the opportunity, because after that we are closing this meeting.
Well, I just want to say I'll have this recording ready and put it up with the link within the working group as well. So if you guys join late, you can always catch the rest of it.
Thank you, folks, that you found time to join this meeting. I think that if we will conduct more such meetings and like make remarks, then we like can talk more specifically and accurately with Foundation, saying that this is what community thinks. These are the statements from the community. Thank you, Facilitation Squad, for also organizing this meeting.
Okay, great. I think that's pretty much all. So again, I invite you all to actively participate on strategic planning working group. I totally taking into account what Lastrom is saying on the chat. We should, and sorry for that, we didn't invite. The Discord event was created and everything, but we didn't reach out anyone from the foundation to come here. That input is really appreciated. We're going to invite technical members of the foundation for the next strategic planning meeting. We still need to figure out what's the next topic that we're going to discuss. If it's about the platform and technical stuff, we're definitely going to invite someone from the foundation. Thanks everyone for joining, and we're keeping you posted about this. This is, as Natalie mentioned, going to be uploaded, this meeting, and we're working on a summary with Lorelike for this. So thanks everyone for joining, and have a nice day.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, folks.
Take care, everybody.